We're always starting with some rock and roll.
Yeah, this is so energizing.
Yeah, why not, right? We have to get it going because we have to talk about complicated stuff.
Yeah.
So, Pierre, welcome to our stream. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing very well. Thank you, Tim, for having me today. I'm very excited about the conversation we're going to have. Everybody's talking about composability these days.
Oh, yes.
I look forward to hearing your thoughts and hopefully sharing some insights.
Yeah, exactly. So, before we kick it off, is it also that cold where you are?
Well, it's okay. I live in the south of France, so it's much better here than where you are in Paris.
I also live in the south of France. Maybe
Do
we should
you?
talk after the stream to
Yeah,
share where
exactly. We
we
have
are.
to. Okay. Well, we have
Anyways,
to
that's
have this
something
conversation.
for we might have beers together. Okay. Anyways, in this stream, we call this composable without compromise. And initially, we had just a lovely conversation. I had a bunch of questions. But what we actually figured out is for this year, we want to more quantify what composable actually is and
Mhm.
then get veterans from the field to talk about that stuff. And the cool thing in your case is you can talk about your product. And then sometimes we have people that are not product people, but more agency people that integrate with your product, for example. And so we have 6 questions. And in these questions, based on these questions, hopefully we can kind of make some boxes. And based on these boxes, we get information and we can maybe share that later or compile like 20 live streams together with what do veterans say about these things. So before we get going, do you have anything you want to share or should we just dive in?
Well, I was not ready for this question, but we are making an amazing release of Strapi today.
Ooh,
Strapi 4.6 with a lot of improvements. So just take a look at our Twitter accounts or at our blog, and there is a lot of things
okay.
coming with this
That's
release.
exciting. So, with that out of the way, here we go. So, what is an unexpected or surprising outcome of transitioning from a monolithic to a composable architecture?
Okay, so there are a lot of outcomes. But if we think about a surprising one, well, that's a really good question. So there are plenty of advantages to using a composable architecture. And at Strapi, so just as a reminder for the audience, Strapi is an open source headless CMS. So we are part of the ecosystem and not just using the ecosystem, but we are using this composable architecture for our own website, for example, for the
Yeah.
strapi.io website. And even more importantly, we have the chance to chat with thousands of companies and digital agencies all over the world that benefit from this architecture. So I will try to summarize some of the benefits of using this new paradigm. Um, but if we're talking about something that is surprising, I would say that the most surprising outcome of this transition is the massive results that companies get from this new architecture.
Mm,
When we created Stripe in 2015, before composability was a trend, we created it because we wanted ourselves, because we created for us at the beginning. We were students at the time and we were working as freelance developers. So we needed a CMS that could give us the ability to manage content on any platform, no matter
yeah.
if it was a mobile application or a website using modern front-end frameworks such as Angular at the time, and then React and
Mm,
Vue.js to build faster website. But at the time, nobody was talking about headless because it was still a new thing. So it was
exactly.
like this API CMS, and then the headless thing arrived. But what's sure is that nobody was talking about composability. It was a raise of this APIs, yes, but composability was not the thing. And the benefits of using a headless CMS are already clear. So basically managing content on any platform,
Yeah.
including again building this websites with new front-end frameworks. But the thing we've seen recently that coupled with the right tools, um, by coupling headless CMS with the right tools, companies get exponential results. So they're not only able to manage content on 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 any platform, but they get massive results. And for example, there is a Plenty, which is a company, by replacing WordPress with Strapi, Next, and Vercel, they saw like massive website performance improvements. Another example.
So, just sorry to interrupt. So, what is the performance that you see? Is this in process or in tech decisions or literally how you code your front end? Where do they see the performance gain?
It's both,
Okay.
and we were talking about this internally a few weeks ago. To me, there are two main steps. There are the pre-production phase, and then there is once it's in production, we can talk about results and performance too. But to me, uh, the first step is really about like building the project. So it's all about developers and project managers and designers too, but it's mostly the developers. And
Yeah.
so one of the benefits of this new architecture is that they are able to develop much faster because they're going to pick the right tools. And one of the benefits is that they don't need to make one huge decision of choosing a one single monolith tool. They can make smaller decisions and say, okay, we're going to start with this CMS and then eventually the search engine, and we're going to build the first version of the website or the mobile app or whatever. And that's great for them because they can choose what they prefer and they can decide quickly because it's not, like the single one technology you're going to have to use for the next decade.
Yeah,
And so,
exactly. And decade is actually true. I've worked
yes,
with customers for a long time where they always had this kind of stuff going on. It's crazy.
exactly. And yesterday we published a customer study, which is about Sonos, and
Mm.
they created a multilingual product catalog, and they said themselves that they created it 2 times faster than with a traditional CMS. They used Localizy to manage the 8 different languages
Mm.
of the catalog, and because they used the CMS with a translation software like Localizy, they've been able to very quickly iterate and choose the best bit of technology for what they wanted to build. And so that's the pre-production phase. So it's really about building the project. And again, it's mostly about the developers. They are the most involved in that
Yeah,
process.
exactly. But
And we're trying to save their time.
yeah, and generally, the headless CMSs are amazing for developers because you get to choose your data models and your front end and whatever you want. And especially when I use
Exactly.
Strapi, that makes me very happy because you have your interface to say one to many or many. That stuff works so well. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
So, sorry, go on.
What I want to say that, yeah, that's why developers are so important in the decision process of a
Yeah,
CMS. But
exactly.
we like to say internally that, okay, when a company starts using Strapi, and then they go in production, that's only the beginning of the journey, because we could think, okay, they're in production, that's fine. The website is made, and developers are done. They can go on holiday. The website is in production. But the thing is that this is actually where this story is starting.
Yeah.
And then we're talking more about like marketing teams and content editors and content managers, and they need results too. And it's very important to think about them, and they benefit maybe even more than the developers. From this new architecture. And we have a very good example in common. There is this company named Cobham that
Oh, yeah.
migrated their new website to Strapi and Uniform, and they had a 150% increase in qualified leads. And so they've been able to better manage their content and to make the most of it by using personalized content and A/B testing, and this is also where we see significant results from using this new architecture, because marketers can, okay, yes, they can manage their content, but they can also really make the most of it. To me, that's really what it is about.
Yeah.
And they can increase the conversion rates, and they can have better SEO because I mentioned Versal just before with the website performance improvements. And well, you know what it is. I mean, for SEO, it's a game changer to have
Yeah, it's
very
huge.
good performance. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What I like when you look at how Stripe specifically works is you kind of stay out of the way and it just works. And that's actually a very good thing to have. So with all this in mind, let's go to our next question and talk about, like, of course, when you look at people using your software and Composable in general, if you think about the execs of either agencies or a SaaS company, well, of course, you work at such a company. So maybe look at what advice would you give to people in charge at, let's say, agencies or studios using Composable tools?
Okay. Um,
Yeah, they're cheeky questions. I know. We have a few more.
yeah. Oh, okay. Well, let's do it. And yeah, we were chatting about this, and like uh, having this message like a billboard on the highway. What would be this very short message?
Yeah.
Um, I think the message I would display, maybe we'll do it. It will be your project, your stack. And the reason why I'm saying this is that every project is different. You might think that, okay, a website is a website, but first of all, companies not only build websites, they need to display content, uh, not only on websites, but also on mobile applications. And speaking of billboards, we have this company named JC Deco. It's an
Mm,
advertising company, and they use Strapi to manage content, to manage ads on billboards for Google. With
yeah.
a case study on our website, you can take a look at it. And funny enough, even so, like content is on billboard. So they had like 55 million impressions, and it just say a lot about what companies can do with content. We're
Yeah.
working with a bank too, and they manage content on their ATMs, and it's still content management. And so your project, your stack is really about thinking, okay, every project is different. And even a website, I mean, it can be an e-commerce website, and then you will need to manage products or to connect the CMS to an e-commerce CMS, or it can be a website like media, very focused on news. We have this news website in Netherlands. They have more than 1 million article in the CMS, and it's yet another. It's another project. It's very different
Yeah.
compared to the website of a SaaS company, and so every project is different, and it's very important to keep this in mind. And because every project is different, the needs are different. Every team will have their favorite tools already.
Yeah.
They
Exactly.
might want to integrate their website with Marketer or maybe HubSpot for the marketing, for example. So everything is different, and no company can be this tool that covers all of these needs,
Yeah.
and that's why companies want to stop using this monolith tools that gives no choice, because one section of this tool can be good, but not the rest for your specific project. And the benefits of using a composable architecture are really about having this flexibility, which is just by definition, it's all about flexibilities. Okay,
Yeah.
you can move pieces and replace one with another. You can use the best of breed technology. If there is this new AI tool that just came up and you want to use it as part of your stack, because it's all about composability of integrations, you can make sure that you'll be able to use it.
Yeah. Exactly.
And you should. I mean, as a company, you always want to to use the best technologies to make the biggest results. So that's why it's very important stay on top of what's available on the market.
And so, what do you say to agencies that used to do, let's say, all these monoliths, right? They are kind of like platform driven. We do this, you have a problem, we fix it for you. But now they go into the headless space. And
Yeah.
what they start to do is they quantify a few headless API type systems that they like, and they build a one trick pony for every customer, because repeatability is easy to make money on. And then you don't have so much people on the bench that are specialists. What do you say to these kind of companies? Because that doesn't really fit our modern composable setup, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a very good point. So first of all, I would say that if an agency just want to build very simple websites for like the bakery which is just around the corner, maybe having such a composable architecture is just not a necessity.
A bit much.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why, first of all, I think composability is for custom projects.
Mhm.
But any
Okay.
company that really wants to have visibility on the web will need something that is a little bit custom. And because composability is just about selecting the right integrations, it actually removes a lot of complexity. Because let's say you want to use, I don't know, uniform with Algolia. It's very simple. You just
Yeah.
click on a button and the integration is there.
Yeah.
And I think what we can say to these digital agencies is, first of all, you want to offer the best to your clients. Because they deserve the best, and you as a digital agency, if you want to have more and more clients, then you need to provide the best solutions to your clients. And to provide the best solutions, you want to use the best of breed technologies, and to use them easily, you should use this composable architecture, because within a few minutes you're going to assemble them, because all of these integrations are already available out there,
Yeah.
versus using maybe only one tool that might on paper save some time because you're used to it. But
Okay. Yeah.
if the client wants something that is a little bit specific, then you're going to need to code this specific integration. And yes, and as an agency, you're setting time, and that's fine. You're going to be able to say, okay, we're going to add this integration. That's fine. We're going to bill you that number of hours, and you'll eventually make some money from that. But if there is another agency that says, you know what, yes, you want to use that tool, yeah, we know how to do it, we have all of these integrations already available, so it's not going to cost you anything. We're not going to build integration specifically for you. Everything is already available out there.
Yeah.
The other agency will be way more competitive than you are, and in the short term that might be fine for you, but on the longer term it can be a real concern. So that's what I would say.
Yeah.
And I would say that composability, it's more for a little bit more custom project. It might seem very complex on paper because you imagine all of these integrations, but the concept behind composability is that all of these integrations are already available out there for you, and so we simplify everything for you. That's really what all of the software vendors out there are trying to do for you. So we're all
Exactly.
working on it, and hopefully we are making your life much easier. And think about, okay, you're using that tool, and you have this your head in that box, and we're actually offering you plenty of boxes, and you can assemble them together.
Exactly. I would almost say, however, whatever you just said is kind of more you go from platform first to like the time to value is actually faster,
Yes.
right? You get
and
value
and
faster, not really faster time to market, but something that's important is faster. And then you have more time for storytelling and other things your agency might do. And I think you will make more money, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
exactly. And the time to value, the time to market is actually faster for all of the reasons we mentioned earlier in this conversation. For everything which is before going in production, this architecture saves so much time, because you can make faster decisions because these decisions are smaller, and you can assemble all of these tools, which saves a lot of time to the developers. That's really the where you're going to save a lot of time.
Exactly.
And yeah.
So if you had like a magic wand and you could change anything about our space where we operate right now, what would it be?
That's not an easy one.
Maybe nothing, because Strapi
Oh
is
no, no,
thriving, right? I don't know.
no. I wish, but I mean, software is by nature something we can always improve. And
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
as software vendors, I think that's what get us excited every day. So you know, to me, composability is as strong as its integrations are.
Hmm.
And the issue is that what I've seen is that most of these integrations are closed source. And that means it's difficult for companies to create additional integrations or to improve existing ones. And to me, the best solution to this is open source. So
Okay.
just as a disclaimer, at Strapi, we are big fans of open source. Strapi is open source. It's really is in our DNA. And the thing I've seen a lot is customers of a specific solution, they want to use that tool with another one, but the integration is not available. Or maybe the integration is available, but there is the specific functionality, the specific data that is not synchronized as they expect. And because
Yeah.
the integration is closed source, they can't even contribute to it. Even if they would say, you know what, our developers have some time and they could contribute to this integration and fix that. And that would be fine. We're happy to pay our developers for improving this integration. But if the integration is closed source, nobody can contribute. And
Yeah.
I think I was thinking about this, and I think we can even imagine like a universal way of creating this integration, so we use them across different tools. Maybe I'm
Oh yeah.
a bit utopist here, but in
I
any
love the
case,
French
having this,
utopia you're bringing to this this
yeah,
answer.
exactly.
Perfect. I
French
love
people
it.
like to complain, but we like to dream. We like to dream too. Uh,
Exactly. Perfect.
so yeah,
All right.
to me
So
that's
more open
a very
source,
important
or
improvement.
I think that's a great one, and it's also pretty hard to do that, because if it's not open source, you're kind of bound to the vendor lock-in that you chose
Yes,
the integration with. If they cannot integrate, yeah, that's problematic, right?
and then in a way, I mean, if you can't update the integration by yourself, you're kind of back to this kind of closed source monolith traditional
Yeah,
kind of software, which is everything we want to avoid. And that's
exactly.
why, I mean, as a digital agency or as a company, make sure that you can play with its integration and improve them over time. That will give you much more flexibility on the longer term. So yeah, that's a very important thing to me to really make that new movement successful
Exactly.
for
That's
everyone,
a
by the way, for
perfect
software
bridge.
vendors and for companies.
Actually, that's a perfect bridge to the next question. Because when we talk about this composable architecture, have you seen any bottlenecks right now in how this is happening?
Well, could be actually what I mentioned just before.
Exactly. That's why I said it's a lovely bridge.
Yeah, exactly. That's a lovely bridge, and to me, it is such an important thing that I wouldn't mention anything else than that, because
Okay.
that's really something we all have to keep improving. And yeah, just the ability to edit integrations can be a bottleneck that we all want to avoid. And if we think again about the digital agency we were mentioning before, which has no name, it's just an example. But if
Yes.
they're using that tool they're used to, and we tell them, okay, use this tool, it's already integrated with this and this, and then they say, yeah, but we are used to this. Ah, how can we make sure that, okay, if there's just that little integration missing, and I think software vendors won't be able to cover all of the integrations. And if you take a look at, like Zapier, for example, we can think about composability when we think about Zapier, which is that automation tool
Yeah.
that is connected to plenty of different things. Zapier wouldn't be as powerful as it is without all of the integrations that have been made by their community. And when we think about community, we think automatically about open source. We think about developers, and that's I mean, everyone will benefit from it. Every software provider will benefit from it, and it will allow developers and digital agencies to build this additional integrations, especially if they have an incentive in that process. I think a lot of people will benefit from that.
I love it. Open source for the win. So
always.
Exactly. So what feature of old tech would you like to bring back nowadays?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I think by splitting the CMS on the one side and the front end on the other side, and also some additional tools, I think we have to reconcile these things, and integrations through that composable architecture is definitely something we have to keep working on. Because it might be surprising for some people to say, oh, okay, so now my search engine is here and my DXP capabilities are here and my CMS is here.
Yeah,
so we have to reconcile all of the things. And one thing we are actively working on at Stripe is the editing experience, because I think developers love headless CMSs. It gives them a ton of flexibility and customization capabilities, and they've been the earliest adopters of headless CMSs. But not only the developers, but content managers will have huge benefits from using headless CMSs because they can manage content on any platform. They can have much better front-end technology they benefit from to build faster websites, which have better SEO. And one thing that we are really working on to reconcile the CMS and the front-end is the editing experience, to provide the same experience as in traditional CMSs. And this is something that headless CMSs in general could have done better. And we have very good things coming in the future.
You can imagine the headless CMSs were made by and for developers. And then later on, of course, we also have content editors. But that's the normal approach to it, because we have a pendulum swing. And before headless, like in 2015, 2014, it was all Adobe and slick interfaces and sidecores and stuff. And then developers were so upset that you just left their jobs and built headless CMSs. Right. And so the pendulum is all the way that way now. And so this was actually what's interesting to me also when we're talking about these integrations. If you have the pendulum all the way towards the developers, these integrations are also quite techy. They work well together. You kind of, even though they work well in tech, your content editors don't really know what these integrations do. And they kind of have to understand multiple systems. And that's where a pretty big problem lies. And so I think having something like this DXC thing that's coming up now is where you have Composable, but you kind of orchestrate it, consolidate what you were mentioning. I think this is the step in the right direction.
Yeah, for sure. I think we will all play a significant role in that reconciliation, not only between the CMS and the front end, but actually between the developers and the content editors. I think it has always been a
will they be friends again? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Because developers will be able to use their favorite technologies, and content editors will be able to work in full autonomy and to update the front end and to connect with their favorite tools. So yes, of course, DXCs like Uniform will be a game changer, and it's true that it started with the developers, but if we want to continue in that journey of growing this new kind of headless and composable architecture, content managers must benefit from this new paradigm, and they will because for all of the reasons we mentioned earlier, they will be able to use their favorite tools all together, which never happened in the past. So yes, it's only the beginning of the journey. It started with the developers, but if we convince the content editors too, and I'm sure we will, because again they will benefit from that. That's just what
it's going to be a lot
together.
Better fast. And also, by me just mentioning Uniform, it doesn't mean that something like a DXC has to overtake the whole thing, that's the beauty about composability. They can all be playing small parts, and some take a
Yes.
bigger part and others take a smaller one, because you might want to have a headless CMS for, let's say, 60% of what you do, because everything is extremely dynamic, and then the
Yeah.
rest is landing pages that you use uniform and personalize it and whatever. And so it can all work in harmony. I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, hardest question of the day. How would you explain composable architectures to a 15-year-old? So what I mean by this is, like, I on purpose didn't say your grandma or something like that. I want you to talk to somebody who's digitally native, who uses the stuff
Yes.
all the time, but might not know how that magically appeared on the phone screen, right? So how would you explain that?
Okay. Well, so when we talk about composability, I think we are using the Legos example all the time.
Of course.
So I have to pick another one this time, especially because
Last
maybe
week we had sushi. So
sushi. Whoa, that's an interesting one.
Sushi example.
Yeah. Well,
maybe you can do
very
something
relevant one.
French.
Oh, yeah.
Crudité or something.
Yeah, it could be about food. Okay, but well, a 15 years old teenager, maybe they don't play Legos anymore. But well, there is something they have and they use a lot, which is a smartphone.
Yes.
And a long time ago, when people like us, and we are not that old, we had phones. These phones were not that smart.
Yes.
They were not smart in the sense that so you get that phone. It has a keyboard, first of all, but that's not the point. So you get that phone, and in that phone, you can send messages, you can phone. There was a clock, probably, and there is probably one or two games. One of them being Snake. That's a good one.
Yeah.
But that's
I
it.
remember the Nokias. I think we are similar.
Exactly.
Age.
Yeah. Exactly. I'm thinking about this one. They were pretty strong, by the way. So yeah, this kind of like it's a traditional one, the monolithic one. It's like this strong phone. You can do a few things with it, and it comes with that list of functionalities out of the box. You already have a few games. You have a few functionalities. Maybe you already have a camera, and that's it. And it's working well. You have like the basics. And by the way, when you buy a phone now, you probably have no game at all. But different is that you can install anything. And if you want to play that specific game, which is very, just the trendy thing of the year, you can install it. If you want to install TikTok or Instagram, you can do it, which is something you couldn't do in a traditional phone, I should say. So the real difference is that you have a lot of flexibility, and you're going to be able to compose the phone you need. Maybe you don't need the Snake game because you don't like it, but you're going to be able to install that other game. And maybe you're using TikTok today, but in 2 years from now, TikTok will be completely over. People will talk about TikTok like something from the past, but there will be this new thing, and you will be able to install it. And that's really what composability is about. It's you get that's actually you get an operating system, and you're going to create your own smartphone, and the smartphone you have will be different from the people next to you. Maybe it's an iPhone or an Android phone too, but if you take a look inside the phone, you'll see that the apps are very different. Just because that person has just different needs, different preferences, and from one company to another, everybody has different needs and different preferences. And why smartphones have been that successful, it's really because people have been able to install the apps they wanted to install and make their phone their own. And it's also because people could develop apps, and they could develop additional integrations and specific apps. And in this headless ecosystem. We have these CMSs, we have the search engine, we have this DXC, which is something new. And maybe in 2 years from now, we'll have something new that we don't think about yet. And there is all of this AI stuff which is coming now. And the way we're going to manage content is going to completely change over the next 2 years. And in 2 years from now, you'll be able to add this new generative AI to your stack because it's all about composability. And maybe you'll keep using the same CMS or the same DXC, and you will just enable that integration. You won't even need to create it, but okay, there is this new app. That's cool. I'm going to add AI to my smartphone. And maybe actually we should stop talking about content or experiences, but we should start talking about smart content and smart experiences. And that's really what composability is about.
That's the best final sentence I've had on the stream. Very nice. I'm going to cut it out. Perfect. I think that was a great example that you gave there with the phone, because it just makes sense. You make it your own. It fits your value rather than everybody's value. But it keeps me thinking about, I bought an iPhone 6 a long time ago, and it had a U2 album on it that I could not remove it. Remember what Apple did with U2?
Yeah.
That's such a silly move, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's true. And I even had this as an alarm for the morning.
Yeah, exactly.
At some point, I couldn't listen to this song anymore because I had it too many times in the morning.
There you go. They did a good marketing job with that, or U2 profited a lot, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the last question of the day. Do you have an interesting question for the next person we're interviewing? And the only thing I know about the next person is that it's somebody who works at an agency at a super high level. So a tech agency.
Okay. Because I was wondering who will be the next person. Okay, so the person will be in an agency, and we talked about the agencies before. So my question for this person would be, okay, maybe you're using that specific tool the very much majority of the time, and it's very much related to what we said earlier. You have this specific tool that you use for the majority of the websites you create. What could we, and when I say we, it's all of the software vendors out there, all of the creators, all of the app makers of this composable ecosystem, what could we do to help you moving away from that closed box you're used to? And why? The goal is just, for no reason, okay, use this and this. But what are the things that prevent you today to using a composable architecture? And what could we do for you? And hopefully we'll do it to make your life easier and to migrate to that composable architecture.
That's a great question. I have a possible answer myself, but it's really hard. I think that people who are at brands, right, that have to buy all this stuff, and then people at agencies that build all that stuff, they just need to learn how this works.
Yes.
Right. And like even now at scale, big companies are starting their headless journey only now, 7 years after you guys started. And they have to learn while they do it and not be afraid. And so let's see what our next guest has to say for this one.
Okay. Yeah. I watched the next.
There you go.
Webinar to see.
Thank you so much, Pierre. Can you share where people can find you, and maybe if you have one last message to people, feel free to share.
Yeah, sure. So our website is strappy.io. So you can take a look at our website and better understand how Strappy can help you managing content at scale on any platform with this composable architecture. Feel free to reach out to us through our website. And well, anything I could answer today. So I mentioned that new version of Strappy that we're releasing today, and that would include a bunch of improvements. But even more importantly, we are going to release through the soft launch and later in the year through the real launch Strappy Cloud, which is going to be the managed version of Strappy.
Nice.
So today, if you use Strappy, you can, because it's open source, you can host it on any cloud. So if you have any data privacy constraint in your company, or you just want to take care of that, you can host Strapi on AWS, on Microsoft Azure, on Google Cloud Platform, or even your own servers. So that's one of the big benefits of using Strapi. It's also fully customizable and, of course, fully composable, I should say. And that's possibility of hosting Strapi anywhere is a huge benefit. But it might also comes with some complexity, and so that's why we're working on Strapi Cloud. So we'll have the best of both worlds, meaning that you will be able to just sign up on our website and get that fully content composable cloud platform to be able to easily manage your content without taking care about anything. What's working behind the hood will manage everything for you, and it will be even easier to use Strapi and to connect it with our dear tech partners.
I'm excited to see that part. Will you have a free sign up or a free account for developers to try it once it's on the cloud?
Yes. Yeah. We'll start with a free trial. So you will have a few days to give it a try. And a bit later, we'll also have this freemium model. So you will be able to build like small project with this without paying. And
Exactly.
and of course, depending
Yet
on how
another
much you use.
CMS on my list to try. I have so
Yes.
many. I've tried Strapi recently, and it was especially the content modeling flow was really solid. So awesome for that.
Thanks.
Thank you very much for your time. And yeah, that's it. We asked the questions, and there were great answers. And let's see what the next person says and how different that is from yours. That's always super exciting.
I can't wait.
All right. Thank you so much, and speak soon. Cheers.
Thank you, Tim.
Bye-bye.